Put your shoes on outside. You don't got to put them on in here. Get out.
Frank Castle moment.
By this. So the women's psyche is a psyche of extracting resources. And what I mean by this from a biological sense, right? Like, obviously, we're in modern society. Women can make their own money. Women can go ahead and fend for themselves, etc. Great. We understand that in modern society. However, the reality is women are still physically inferior to men. Women are still smaller than men, weaker than men, etc. So there's still primitive biological traits within their mind that dictate the way they behave. So, for example, men, we don't need to see other men with our women to know that our woman's attractive. We have the ability to look her up and down. I find her attractive. Cool. I don't need social proof to be attracted to her. Women don't operate that way. They see a guy, if he's by himself, oh, he's maybe handsome, but if he's there with 5 girls, oh, who is this guy? I kind of want to get to know him. So women make a lot of their decisions based off of the herd and the social dynamics, right? That's why men that have social status that are ugly are still able to get very attractive women, but it might not necessarily work the other way around, where a woman that's ugly that has social status might not necessarily be able to pull the same caliber of guy, right, on her level. So that's kind of where the disconnect comes. So I say that to kind of paint the picture and the foundation that women are inherently not loyal because that is detrimental to their survival. If a woman's with a man and that man shows that he can no longer provide, protect, provision, and he can't maintain his duties, what ends up happening is she'll look to another guy that can, because, 1,000 years ago, this incompetency can get her killed. Not just her, but her child as well. So she has a vested interest in not just protecting herself, but her offspring. And if the man cannot provide that value for her and her offspring, well, her job is to survive alongside the children. Her duty is to herself and her children first. So if the man can't do his job, she leaves. This is why women initiate most breakups. This is why when women do break up with you, they feel almost no guilt, no resentment. They break up with you months in advance, right? And they find, we call it monkey branching, right, on this side of the internet. But this is how they're able to kind of get and find another guy right away. So I would argue that it behooves women to not be loyal because it is counteractive to their survival strategy. Whereas for us, men, we have the ability to not just have our beliefs, but we can fight to defend our beliefs, right? Every revolution was led by men for a reason. Men will pick up a sword to fight for their belief system, or a gun or a rifle. Women can't do that. So since they can't do that, they must align themselves with the strongest men that can ensure their survival. This is why, back in the day, a dude would have the top guy, Genghis Khan, would have all the women. Why? Because he would ensure their survival. It doesn't go the other way around. So with men, I think the reason why men, it's a masculine trait to be loyal and stand by your bros is because we're looked at as warriors and we can stand and defend ourselves and our brethren. Women can't do that. So we don't hold them to the same standard, right? There's a reason why it's called I'm a man of my word, right? And not I'm a woman of my word. There's a reason why when they say be a man, man up, 9 out of 10 times that means taking responsibility for not just yourself, but for other people. Women aren't held to these same standards. As much as people might say that sexist or misogynistic, it's true. We almost infantilize women, and then if they do want to rise up and be responsible, we applaud it. Cool, you're responsible and you're loyal. But as a man, you're expected to do that. For women, if they do it, it's, extra credit. For us, we must do it. It's mandatory. And if you don't do it, you're considered a bitch, and we have social norms in place to embarrass you and to shame you for not adhering or being loyal, right? Being a snake as a woman is completely acceptable, but being a snake as a man, that's met with a certain level of vitriol, even more so because we're supposed to be honorable, right? That's the reason why, like, when the two men meet and they shake hands, that's supposed to be something, right? Scarface famously said, Al Pacino, all I have in this world is my balls and my word. That's a masculine thing. It's not a feminine thing because women inherently cannot be loyal based off of their biology.
So do you?
Okay,
so
no, I gotta jump
well,
in.
hold on. Let me ask this one last question, and then you got it, Q Diddy. So by that, do you think that we should not hold women accountable or as accountable when they decide to move on based off of their circumstances or based off of the whole mindset of survival or leveling up when they then go with a different guy?
That's a good question because we're taking a biological urge and how they're wired, and we're trying to apply new social standards to that biological wiring.
Right.
I think the best way to approach this is I think men need to understand the fundamental wiring of women, right? Mm-hmm. And understand that in their mind. So when some bullshit does pop off, they're not surprised. I think one of the biggest reasons why so many guys get their heart broken or they get angry or, a lot of it comes from frustration of not understanding women, right? It's not that it's not that it's as bad. It's rather it's the lack of knowledge and the lack of awareness that drives men to say, what the hell, I did everything right. And it's that inability to figure it out that really frustrates them, which makes sense. If you look at like the world around us, right? The ingenuity, the internet, the fact that we're on computers and microphones, etc. This all came from the man's yearning to, make life better and figure things out. So whenever we're not able to figure things out, especially with women, men get very frustrated, right? They can figure out how to, go to the moon, but they can't figure out how to keep women happy. So, so I think with men, I think the biggest thing is understanding how women think and how they behave and understanding the rudimentary biological background, as negative as that may be. And then that will make everything else make sense. So when she does break up with you, or when she does leave you, or when something that you didn't plan for does happen, you can always go back and say, okay, I understand. You don't have to like it. You don't have to be angry, but you just being able to understand will make things a lot more peaceful. You'll be able to get over it sooner. You'll be able to say, you know what? It is what it is. She didn't like me anymore. My value, I got lazy, whatever. Hypergamy kicked in, and then you can move on to another girl because you kind of understand what it is. But a lot of guys, they don't have this knowledge.
100% agree. Because I've always said that my only rule is I will never stop you from leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I am not trying to hold on to you. Once it's over, it just is what it is. And, that's just life. Go ahead, Q Diddy. I know you had something that you was going to say.
It wasn't
and anybody
much.
else
Myron,
could jump in this also, but go ahead.
Myron said a lot, but I just don't want the chat to don't let that deter you from the fact that women are still fucking dumb.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we make jokes all the time. And the reason for that is because there's simply not a burden of performance, right? So if a girl is intelligent, think about it, right? If a woman is intelligent, we actually commemorate that. We're like, wow, you're actually sharp. Wow, we praise that. Well, why do we praise it? Because it's not common. What's the stereotype? If a girl's pretty, right, she's dumb. But if you find a girl that's pretty and smart, beauty and brains, as they say, right, that's something that's novel because it's not that common, because there isn't a burden of performance on women to be pretty and be intelligent. There really isn't. If they do it, it's extra credit, but if they don't, it's no big deal. But there's no such thing as handsome and smart or some kind of idiom for that. No, you're just supposed to get it as a guy. If you're not competent, you deal with consequences for being an idiot. Women aren't held to the same standard. Now, I know people might say that's misogynistic or sexist, but it's the truth. You can be a woman with 60 IQ and meet a man that's extremely successful and have your life taken care of. It doesn't work the other way around as a guy. If you got 60 IQ as a dude, you're cooked. You're going to have a very tough time, finding a partner, let alone getting out of your basement with the Cheeto crumbs on your fucking shirt. So that's the difference between, male excellence versus female excellence.
Does anybody else have anything in this?
Money by the ton. I get more bitches than you, your daddy, and your uncles, nigga. Shut the fuck up.
Here we go. No, I 100% agree. I don't think it's anything that you said that I disagree with that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, man, is that's why content like this is so important to kind of educate guys. Because even though, me and you, Anton, right, we've been doing this for a few years now, we might get annoyed going over the same talking points or same studies or whatever, kind of educating men on the way women think. But, I always think to myself, there's someone that might be hearing this for the first time that's thinking about ending it all. And then them hearing this makes them push back, the thing. I'll tell you guys a story that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. There was this guy. He told me that, he was having troubles with his girlfriend and, he wanted to end it all. He found a tree out in a very nice area where it had an overlook of the sunset. And he had the day, time, the rope, and the plans of how he was going to do it. And he said before he died, he wanted to look at one more beautiful thing. And a day or two before he was going to go through with it, he was on YouTube and he found one of my videos. And he said that watching that video led him down a rabbit hole and it helped him understand why he had the troubles that he had with, relationships or whatever. And he ended up not doing it. And now to this day, he sent me a message. I still keep it to this day. I save it on my phone where he said, he's making 6 figures now. He has a family and he has a wife. And I was like, holy crap. If I decided oh man, I'm tired of talking about this topic, I'm going to stop. And then he didn't, see that stream, or maybe he didn't see that video, who knows what would be happening now, right? So this information was able to keep someone alive so you can go ahead and have a family. And, that profound effect is kind of what has me doing this still, even though I dislike sometimes talking to women. I'm not going to lie. It gets annoying sometimes. But I understand that the redundancy is required because there's guys that need to hear this stuff over and over and over again so it gets through their head.
Hey, Myron.
Yo.